Aloha. Welcome everybody back to another dose of positivity. And for all the new people listening for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is your chance to get uplifted, your vibration to go far and wide here on a dose of positivity. I think this is our 99th show to date, and we're honored to have Suraj Holzwarth in the house with us. I call her White Eagle. That's how I've known her for so many years, and you are going to love her, and you're going to love this topic. So on bereavement, pearls of positivity for bereaved parents, and we're going to go way deep into that and way deep into the ether of many things encompassing that. So thank you all for being here and for spreading this message, because this message today is really profound and could affect every single one of us without ever knowing that it was coming. So you guys listen up. And I just a few really important announcements. Remember, this is a live show, so if you have any comments or any questions or anything that you want to share, just pop it in the chat. And if you want to come on stage, raise your hand, and you can speak directly to Suraj or myself, and we will be honored to have you on stage with us. And then also to let you know that one of the most exciting things that I'm going to announce right now is Tel is back in the house with us. And for those of you who have watched some of those 99 episodes, you'll realize that Tel was behind the scenes and in front of the scenes for probably 80 of those episodes. And she has been in China recovering from cancer, and we are thrilled. Tel, welcome home. We are so happy to have you back with us. So that to me is goosebumping all over my body with happiness and joy. And to know that kind of what we're going to be talking about today is overcoming the most horrific things, like being on your deathbed or losing a child. But before we do that, like usual, I am going to read something. Usually I'll read something from one of my books that I've written and published. And actually, girls, I'm going to have you put my book page in the link. Just last week, I published another book called How to Make Your Own Sourdough Starter with Easy Recipes. I'm really proud of the book, and along with six other books that I've published. But I have a forthcoming book, and I'm reading just a very short poem that I wrote, that it's at the beginning of the book, which is called Death. What is it good for? Absolutely something. So the poem goes like this. Beyond the veil of life and death, there lies a world unknown, a place where spirits roam free and the mysteries are shown. It's a world of light and darkness, of love and pain and grace, a place where souls find solace and their journey they embrace. It's a world that's ever changing, yet always stays the same, where time is but an illusion and the soul is all that remains. Beyond the veil, there is no fear, no need to hide or run, for all is known and understood, and the battles we have won. It is a place of endless wonder, where dreams become reality, and the essence of our beings is our guiding force and clarity. So let us not fear the afterlife or the journey that awaits, for it's a chance to be reunited with the ones we love and celebrate. Beyond the veil, there is a light that shines eternally bright. And through our times here, though our time here may be short, our souls will continue to take flight. Oh. Thank you so much for taking those words in. And that kind of sets the theme for this incredible topic. And as many of you have known, that we have interviewed death doulas and other parents who have lost their child or their spouses. And we will be putting the links to those other interviews in here, because they are wonderful, as this one shall be with Suraj White Eagle, who is an international spiritual healer, a therapist, and a teacher, a great teacher. She has been deeply impacted by the loss of her 33-year-old daughter, sorry, I'm having the brain fart. Serena, how do I say her beautiful name?
Sierra.
Sierra
Sierra.
Ray. That's what got me messed up. Sierra Ray. Sorry, Sierra. I know you're listening. Thank you, Sierra. She just gave me a big hug. On January 11th, 2022, this tragedy has led Suraj on a profound journey of transformation, which has expanded her ability to offer sacred space and healing tools to others who are experiencing this grief and this trauma. As the founder of the Whirling Rainbow Foundation, Grandmother Drum, an international peace project, and the Rainbow Fire Mystery School, she has influenced over 1 million lives across the world in over 20 countries. White Eagle, as I know her, has over 40 years of experience in various healing modalities, including shamanic releases, aromatherapy, and shamanic practices. She is dedicated to guiding others through life's profound challenges to uncover their soul purposes. She is also now a death doula and a teacher. And Suraj, White Eagle, I want to welcome you to the show. Thank you so much for being here, love.
Thank you, Donna. And we know each other from Homer, Alaska, and in Hawaii because we both live in both places at different times. So it's good to be with you. Mm.
It's so good to be with you, honey. Really good. And I know that you're just starting to really speak about this. And I would love to, first of all, you know, before I ask you, well, maybe I will just ask you this. What is the first thing you wish to share with other bereaved parents or anybody who's experiencing an inconceivable loss of a spouse or even a dog, man? I'm telling you, my dog is like my child. So
Yeah.
yeah, what is the first thing you wish to share? And I want to touch upon what we talked on pre-interview because that was really powerful. So include that conversation in or that what you shared in this first question.
Well, first, I want to honor all of our loved ones across the veil. Um, I never imagined that my child would become my ancestor. So, for all the ancestors, all of our family members across the veil who are our ancestors now, who are the ones that are guiding us. I have my daughter's picture here and I want to light her candle for all of those that are holding that space for us across the veil. This was made for her, but it's for all of us. And this has a particular logo of hers that was her tattoo that she had on her arm and with the 4 directions. So I placed that there for all of us and all of the ones that are here and present with us. Because, like Maya Angelou said in something I watched recently, she goes, every time I go to something, I bring all of those people with me that
Mhm.
ever loved me, that ever
Mhm.
helped me, that ever guided me. I bring them with me to every event. And now we can say we bring all of the ancestors of all of our family members who have stepped out of the polarity to help us. And I would say to parents what I heard David Kessler, the #1 grief specialist, say when he came on a call with all of us bereaved parents. And I wanted to see what he had to say. And the first thing he said is he wanted to apologize to all parents that he ever counseled because he was a grief specialist and he had been through grief. He had lost his mother, he had lost many people in his life. But he said, I had no idea of the excruciating, all encompassing journey of the loss of a child. And I just say that also. I had no idea. To all the people I coached in this process, I had no idea. And so I spent the last 2.5 years in my own time, in my own space, so that I could understand from a much deeper perspective, so that I could give you something that was authentic. And that breakdown that I was undergoing, I would say to all parents, there are statistics of parents that don't make it past 5 years of their child. There's very, very tall statistics against parents making it after a child loss. And I want to say that this is the fast track to enlightenment. This is the PhD of awakening. And so in this absolute inconceivable anguish and brokenness is, for me, and I almost died in 2019. I was 21 days in the hospital, and have faced my own death more than once in my life. But that was easy compared to this. There was no question. My parents are, I escorted my brother, my best friends, and you could stack them all. I have all of them together, and they could not equate to this experience in my life. And what happened during this 2.5 years that I can speak to you now from a place of authenticity is that the greatest friction that there possibly is also the greatest potential. And I'll share that journey. It seems inconceivable in the beginning, and I would be saying the F word to anybody who said this to me. So please never say that to a bereaved parent. You have nothing to say. And when people say, I can't be around bereaved parents because I don't know what to say. Good. Don't say anything. Just listen. Because that's all we need. I had many, many people leave my life at that time. I thought I had a world community, and I did not. Everybody went to the four winds. But that was important, even though I fought that process for quite some time. I was very angry about that. I absolutely realized that I needed that to go to where I needed to go. And nothing could incinerate my ego. My near death did not. But this did. This day I died. And I had no idea what that meant yet. And during the questions that you're going to be asking me, I'm going to describe what that experience is possible. That as you enter this, you have called in from your highest self a breakdown of your illusions of self that you could never possibly imagine. And you're confused by that. And I am confused by that when it happens. But leading into that is the unbelievable breakthrough that is possible, that is not possible in most cases, because that friction is the thing that takes out everything, including meaning and purpose. And I thought that was the end of me. I thought it was it. I was like every other bereaved parent. I was just going to be a washout. But I'm going to teach you and share with you how I walked that process totally authentically. Was enraged at people. Like, I had my total authenticity to that journey and how I was led through that journey to where I am now. And what I can inspire you with from the hardest, most excruciating, most inconceivable journey of child loss. And so I want you to know that, if you can say there's a purpose to that for yourself, that you called in from a much higher plane of existence, because nobody under their right mind would ever call it in. But there's something else to it. There's an additional portion, but you cannot skip the human journey of it. So I would say I had no idea that this breakdown could ever be a breakthrough. And I'm telling you, I know it can, authentically, not from my mind, not from words, but my own living essence that I hope will come through as we continue.
Yeah, I would like you to continue on with that, because I think anybody listening to that, not that you can take a shortcut, but what you've experienced and what that the gentleman who was the bereavement expert of today who studied with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, if you could mention his name again, I'd like to put his link in the chat.
Yes,
But
and that's David Kessler. He's well known, and he no, not real recent, like the last 6 years, lost his son,
yes,
and said that was the only thing that woke him up. Also, to the fact that he had no idea what he was trying to facilitate. And
so
that was
so
courageous. Imagine this person who's the expert in the country. He's written many, many books, um, #1 speaker, and says, I apologize. I had no idea. And he cried as he was saying it because it was so moving for him. And I thought, wow, that I can breathe.
yeah,
I can breathe that.
yeah.
So I would like to start with what I feel is the most difficult part of the human experience, in addition to what's already known, so that people get that understanding, so that we can then take them to how do I work with that? How do I
Mhm.
work with this excruciating debilitation that happens, especially in the first 2 years? And I'll take any questions as we go along too. So if somebody has a question, just, I'm not paying attention so much to the chat like you might be. So if you want to do that, and I think I tried to, yeah, it wouldn't let me. I sent all the links that we'll be talking about as different people's resources to your email. So tell them to grab it there. It said it's too long to put in the chat. So the #1 thing, unless you want to kind of do some questions for me first, and then I'll lead into whatever direction.
I think that we're good, and you don't have to worry about the chat. We're monitoring the chat, so if we get questions in,
Great.
that we have no problem with that. But I know that you just said a lot there, and the thing that really sticks out to me the most that I want to be by the end of this conversation is, I mean, there's experts now like yourself out there who's can help us get through any kind of bereavement, but loss of a child, like you say, is beyond the loss of, like somebody put in the comment, you can't compare it to a dog. But it is really interesting. Even that comment, it's like, no, we don't know. And also, people, it's not good to judge anybody or anybody who
Oh, no.
about anything, because people like have a closeness with even if it's a child and it's not their birth child, right? So, but what your experience is a birth child, and I feel that, like, all I can think about is my son, as you so articulate the beautiful words you're saying, and just like it's unfathomable. And one thing I do want to share that I think I don't know, and again, it comes back to my dog or my son or whatever. But I think grieving is, it's a natural emotion, and we lose our skin, death is just like such an unknown, scary thing. And again, that's why I wrote the book, because I wanted to come to terms with it. But I cry at least once a month, like whether it's over my dog or something, and I bring in all. I mean, this is a tool that I use, right, to prepare. But still, you can't, right? I understand that you cannot imagine. There's nothing that compare you, right? But I want to talk about things that people can do, because a lot of us haven't lost our child on this call. But how from what you've learned and the steps you took, you say 2.5 years, what you have learned, and what you might have done different whilst Sierra was still alive, that could even help you wrap your mind around something.
Yeah, I don't know that I'll be able to address that in such a short time, but what I do want to say is, first of all, let's look at the components of any loss, right? We have
Hmm.
grief, we have trauma attached
Hmm.
to many of our sudden deaths, like Sierra's was like this, these sudden traumatic events. And then we have a third aspect that has never really gotten any press. And I want to address that because that was my biggest stumbling block, I guess you could say. I'm very used to doing grief work. You say once a month, I cry every day. And you might see me tearing all the time. because that's just my nature. Um, but there was this third component that I feel is so important, and this is very particular to loss of child or loss of parents. It can happen for any loss, but they're more somatic, they're more pronounced in these losses. And that is something that it took me a while. I'm on Facebook with probably 17,000 parents between 5 or 6, 8 Facebook page that I'm on. You can't even get on these platforms unless you've lost a child. And they're very, very graphic and it's very intense. And there is anything's allowed to be expressed on there. You know, people have posted pictures of their children, alive, dead, many, many things. So it's very, very potent. And I was on those pages and my wife was like, "Why are you doing that? Isn't that painful to be sitting there and reading other people's traumas as well?" I said, "No, I need to find out what's going on. And everyone is the same. We're all the same. So there's got to be like I can understand something." And what I kept reading over and over and over again was these symptoms. And I thought, no one's naming this. No one's giving it any press. And it's the word that took me a while. I went on every psychological paper that I could find to see if anything was mentioned about this. And there's only one thing that comes close, but there was nothing I could find. And it's the experience that men and women, particularly women, are saying, "My heart just got ripped out. My navel just got ripped out." Another woman said, "I can't stand. I'm in a wheelchair since my daughter passed. I can't use my legs." Now, this is so far beyond the grief and trauma. This is a serious somatic experience. And this is the one that made me feel the worst of all my experiences to go through, of the trauma portion of it and the grief portion. So I would say the three most difficult things to navigate is this that I'm going to speak to: an emotional courage, which really is the emotional courage to grieve. And we think, oh, that doesn't, it takes courage to grieve. And the essence of emotional courage to me is being able to feel all the positive feelings, all the negative feelings without guilt or attachment. So, like, back up and just breathe that for a minute. Take a breath. The essence of emotional courage is being able to experience our positive and negative emotions without guilt and without attachment. Another word for attachment for me is indulgence, where we just indulge and get very identified instead of just feeling the feelings in their clean way. That's the hardest part emotionally, is having that emotional courage. Then there's the spiritual, which I'll get to a little bit later. And the physical is what I'm about to give you, this one that no one speaks to. And I was sitting at the lake in Kenai Wildlife Refuge for 3 days by the lake, trying to come up with the word. Like, if I was going to be the expert on this topic, what would I call it? I had lists of symptoms from people online that graphically describing their body parts coming out when a child dies. And I came to the word, or the word downloaded, when I needed it. And it's the word that I've given it is dismemberment. And this dismemberment is very real. And it's what I felt so lost. It's as if I had 2 legs and the tripod, which was my daughter, had been pulled out and my balance was completely off. I felt completely lost physically, emotionally, and spiritually. This dismemberment, I just worked with a client in Singapore, and he's lost both of his parents, and he's having abdominal pain, and he's having high blood pressure. and different symptoms. And we did a lot of shamanic work together and came to this whole that then through work can become a new space. And I feel that I had a client this morning and he said to me, he has 4 children now, they're young. And he said, I thought I knew about spirituality before I had children. You know, I had all the time in the world to meditate, I could do everything. He said, but I knew nothing about spirituality until I had children. And I thought that was just such a great Heyoka moment for me, just laughing with him this morning. And I would say to go to the next level of spirituality, we have chosen as bereaved parents to go through the ultimate initiation. And we didn't know anything about spirituality when we had children. This takes us down to ground zero and proves whether we are spiritual or not. And I had 50 years, you know me, around the world, millions of people. I'm well known for my work. And I was ready to check out. I was like, I'm done. You know, I've done everything you've asked me to do, everybody. I'm out of here. You know, it took me to the ground. And this was one of my most debilitating parts, was this dismemberment. Feeling like I had no chi of my own. And it was very visceral. So I have techniques that address all of that. That is, to me, the most important to people's physical grounding back in the world, and not to leave with their children, which is a very energetic process that I see. We had a woman here in Homer who lost her daughter. She left within 3 years of that, got cancer. So this dismemberment has to be addressed. What is going on when we filled our womb with this life? I was 26. I don't know how old you were. I didn't know myself. And when she was taken, I was back to being 26. When she filled that space of my being. So there is so much work on that somatic end of dismemberment. And these tools are to help address the physical component, the emotional component, and the spiritual component of what we term death, which is a complete paradigm shift. We have to be ready to die with them. Whether it's any loved one, a pet, it's like a part of us dies. And that's important.
Yes.
It's an important question. Because if something dies, then something else is going to be born. And we can't know that until we're willing to die. To everything we've ever known, to everything we thought we were, to everything we believed in, for something that's at a higher ground. So I think the number one thing that I want to address with that is that there's specific breath work, there's a specific work that can address the dismemberment. And breath work, you know, if you were going to ask me at some point what my ABCs are, right? That's my B, breath work. It's like, breath is everything. So we would address it through breath work. That's very specific to the womb, to the heart, to any part of the body that's feeling that feeling of a hole or a space or something torn away. And the only thing talking about this at all in the work of, you know, global psychology and transpersonal psychology and all the rest is when we learned about PTSD, right? We learned that, oh my God, people weren't crazy. They had these specific trauma symptoms. And the only one that kind of falls into this category that could be close to it is a vet who experiences phantom pain in a limb that's been cut off. That is talked about, the phantom pain syndrome. And I guess you could connect that to what I'm calling dismemberment and how we have to approach that to get the person, especially in the first 2 years, connected to their own mana again, to their own life force that they may never have. Most of us don't, because until those cords are cut to parents and to children, we don't know who we are yet. I'll say that spiritually, because we are still in the human cords experience. And when those are severed, people become disassociated and disconnected from the human kingdom. And that is the crisis point where we can move into the spiritual awakening if we're led properly. So I'll speak to that throughout this time. I'm not going to address that right this moment, but we will continue. Take a breath.
That was a lot to digest, and you speak so clear. And dismemberment, that's a whole hour in itself. But right now, I want to say we're halfway already through the interview, and I just wanted to make some quick announcements because some people have to leave, and don't want to have them disenfranchised from everything that's moving forward. And I'm just enjoying this, what you're sharing so much. But I do want to let you all, everybody who's listening on the live stream too, that the call will be we will be having a replay of this. So I know there's some new people here, and I want to just invite you to drop your email in the chat, and we will get our newsletter and all our doses of positivity to you, and also to share with you next week. It's kind of just like what you were talking about. It's so amazing that it came right at this perfect time. My 100th interview is with this incredible woman, Ivy Ray, who lost her brother about 5 years ago, and he happened to be my best friend's husband. So Ivy Ray is coming on, and she's been like a yoga teacher for most of her career, but she does multidisciplinary kind of intercorrecting spirituality and body, mind, spirit, much of kind of what Suraj has been sharing with us. But what she does is just very cool. What you just said about all that is her main thing is to demystify and this living agreement with the ecosystem that you are. And that is like her big thing. It's just like, how do you be here now when you're going through all this, or when you lose your limb or a child? And she helps people get back into their body when they've been damaged and torn apart through different modalities. Like we're going to get into the ABC. So I invite you all to, she's a powerhouse like you, super knowledgeable, 40 years of experience in teaching and growing and living and helping people through lots of challenges. And I'm just so grateful that what you were just talking about, because that just explains like something like so raw and guttural, like when you were reading people who had their hearts ripped out or they're in a wheelchair, or you can just feel that. So I would like to have you, because we have a half hour left. So this is your show. I want you to, we can throw the questions out, but I am very curious. We have breath, but I would love to hear about the ABCs, because everybody on the show would love to leave with something tangible that they can take with them to help them prepare. I think that's the thing, and that's why I wrote the book, Death, What Is It Good For? Absolutely Something, is because they don't teach us in school. Our parents don't teach us. Nobody teaches you to prepare for it except Mother Nature. And you mentioned that also in what you were talking about. To me, nature is the greatest teacher. Nature repurposes everything. Nothing dies in nature. A tree falls, it rots, and a new tree comes out of it. And this is like that rebirth, that thereafter, that spiritual awakening, that consciousness of knowing if we fear death while we're alive, we can't fully live. And so having someone like you out there sharing this, preparing us, is so important. And so all I'm saying is take this half hour, teach us as much as you can. We're going to put all the links on how people can get a hold of you. I encourage anybody who's suffering or dealing with any kind of loss to reach out if you're cool with that.
Yeah,
Because you are, like, I've known you for what, 30 something years. I don't know. You just bring so much in so many aspects. And before your daughter even this happened, um, for your daughter, that she is out there now spreading her love and her wisdom as an elder to you and bringing her force to you. I mean, there's something so magnificently beautiful and positive that's coming out of this for you after you had to enter this darkness that we all need to prepare ourselves for.
Mhm.
So thank you so much for just going for it, and welcome back, Tell. We love you. And I don't really have any other announcements than that, but we're going to check the chat. If you have any questions, please put them in there so we have time at the end, and that would be great.
Well, I came up with an alphabet just for, kind of a fun way of me tracking all the details. But I'm just going to cover the if I can even cover the ABCs, because there's a lot there. But the number one thing I think that helped me to work through my process is something that we have to say, that you were kind of addressing a little bit. Consciousness never dies.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is I've been a trance medium most of my life. I've been channeling. Every course I teach, it's channeled material, and I couldn't hear my daughter when she passed. I wasn't getting a communication right away, and I was so devastated. I thought, this can't be happening. And finally there was a breakthrough. I actually went to see another psychic who was an Austrian woman who didn't speak English. And so my wife had to translate. She's one of the best in Europe. And I was like, what's going on? I can't hear her. And my daughter, she didn't even want to know anything about me, who I was, what happened to anybody in my life. She just narrated back. I wasn't around to ask anything or tell her anything. And so she had presentations from my parents and my brother and my best friend that just passed. And then all of a sudden, my daughter appeared. And that moment was so pivotal for me. And I'm normally used to being a full trance medium, meaning I go into a trance and I'm kind of gone, and that person comes in and speaks. Well, she said, Mom, you're just too worked up. You're just way too worked up. So we're going to automatic write together. And I had given that assignment to many of my students over the years, just start automatic writing. And I finally said yes to that. And this 2.5 years, my daughter has awakened. She is fully awakened. She's telling me in the first transmissions that please stop telling people I died, because I didn't. And please don't tell them you lost me, because I'm not lost. I was lost when I was alive. She died of alcoholism. And so she pushed me through the eye of a needle, because I have been teaching this. I just crossed my best friend over and made a lecture to my community on Death, the Greatest Fiction. And now the universe said, really? Is that the greatest fiction? Let's see. And took me down to the ground. So that was, okay, you need to get your next initiation in that truth. And that truth had to become real. So real that it was my child. And her communication, so that will be the C word. Consciousness never dies. And communication, or A for automatic writing. If no one's done automatic writing before, it's really not that hard. And I would say I always light my candle with Sierra's picture. I use specific music that I found on the internet that I really love, and I get into a meditation space. And I literally can feel her in the room. I can smell her. I can feel her sometimes grab my hand. And I had a very difficult time in the beginning because I could feel her, and then I would just start bawling and I couldn't even write. So it's a process to automatic write. But what's happened is she has carried me. Everything I'm teaching you or about to teach you about all these techniques is directly from her. So A is for automatic writing and A is for angel. You have an ancestor, an angel, who has not died. And that is the biggest spiritual challenge, right? To really understand that, to really get that. It's just philosophy. But through the automatic writing, and people say, oh, I don't know. I'm not like you. I'm not that spiritual. I'm just going to feel like I'm writing to myself. And I said, so start. Because at first it may feel like that, and maybe it will be like that. But my question to you is, does it help you? And if you feel better from it, in this process, in any really deep loss and grief, any baby step, we take it. If it makes an hour of difference, we take it. If I had an hour without excruciating pain, it would be worth it. So that process is now 2.5 years and 150 pages in that she has completely guided the entire process. So trust that they know more than you do now and then can help you. Mm-hmm. And at one point, I'm writing and my daughter says, your mom and dad are here, your mom wants to talk to you. And I thought, well, I don't want to talk to my mom. I only want to talk to you right now because I need you. And I set up a time for my mother. And my mother lost my son when I was still alive. She was still alive. My brother passed. And she dealt with that. And of course, she couldn't deal with that in this life very well. She became mentally ill over her life. But now she was able to guide me for the first time ever. So we can have that communication. And I think that's the biggest debilitating part, is thinking that the communication is over. Mm-hmm. So that automatic writing, just start, ask a question, say, are you here? I just say, Sierra. She goes, Mom, just like she did when she was alive. And I'm like, I am such a mess. I can't believe that. Blah, 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 blah. And then she's like, it's okay. Just patient with me. And then carries me to one step at a time. And so I say A. There's the A. Ancestor, angel, automatic write, communicate. Don't end. Write them love letters. Do whatever you need to do to keep the communication alive. And without that, I would have never had the breakthrough I had on June 25th of last year. I would have never had it. She was talking and I was like, it was the instructions and the application of those instructions that allowed me to break free. Now, so I give you that, automatic writing. The other one I want to give you, because we don't have time, this is a course I'm doing in the fall. So you want to go through the process and really get lots of great tools for now and for later. I'm a death doula, so there's processes to helping people through the death process, physically and spiritually, and the after for us to continue that relationship. Is the dismemberment, addressing dismemberment. And listen to my daughter, this was Mother's Day. Of course, one of the hardest days of the year for bereaved parents is Mother's and Father's Day, right? So I decide I'm going to write with her that day. And I'm like, and I could go in and get self-realized about, oh, wow, this is, oh, okay, honey, I get it. And then the next time I'm back to the same spot. And she was completely patient. So don't think this is like a linear process. This is a messy process. Birth and death are messy things. And they need to be both held equally, the realization and the humanity. Because if you skip any of that, you will always be brought back. And that's what happened. My spirituality, everybody thinks I'm a really spiritual person. It was tested, and I went to the ground. It needed to go to a different level. It wasn't, oh, completely authentic. It wasn't completely real. So she gave me this beautiful exercise. And, we do the breath work for the navel, for the womb area. When we lose children, that's a big part of the physicality of the dismemberment. And she taught me an extension of belly breathing, which we call fire breath in most yogic traditions, where you inflate the belly with a deep breath and then push it out and then inflate it, bringing some heat and fire to that area. Well, she added something completely unique to help fill that space with energy and life force again. And it was the word mom, but it was just the letters. So you would chant M-O-M. So the M we know is that's good, we always know the M. The M is mom and me. One of the first sounds we make as a baby for food, substance. And the M is taking it in to me, and the O fills that space with the universe. And then the M takes it back in again. Filling. And it's interesting because without the first M, it's Om, the seed sound of the universe. So we're taking our own motherhood completely back into our own womb. And what she said to me as another exercise after that was, since I came from her, because I'd say, I miss this and I miss that and blah, 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 right? All my pain. And she would say, Mom, I want you to do an acceptance speech. What do you mean by acceptance speech? Accepting what is by making a list of everything you loved about me. And say, I accept Sierra's creativity back to me. I accept her unconditional love back to me, because she said, I came from you. So it's just to take it back into you. All those parts that are lost out there in your identity with me being an external person from you is an extension of you, and take that back in and let that return to that 26-year-old who birthed her. Take all of that back to myself. And it was a process. I did this over some weeks where I wrote, and then I did this energy work where I brought that back into myself as myself. So there are many steps, and these you may seem little, some may seem big to you, but every step that she gave was so essential that we can do that and receive that back. The same as if we're a parent and we're a child of a parent. Well, I'm an extension of them. I can bring them into me as well as a child of a parent or a loved one. So this acceptance speech was very, very powerful for me. And to begin to bring lost parts of myself that I have always seen in her, and my joy in her, and my love of being with her, and her creativity. My daughter was enormously creative, like a creative artistic genius, and I was like, I had to say, I take Sierra's creative genius back into me. And then she asked me to drop her name out. I take back my creative genius. Those were powerful. This was very, very powerful. She goes,
Mhm.
Mom, you created me. I'm part of you. So take that back. And that was just like, wow, what am I doing with that when I feel that? So those are, just a few really tiny things that are in this alphabetical list of how I navigate that. And she gave me key things to help me. And then finally, she said, I'm going to ask you to do 3 ceremonies. And then I did those ceremonies and I actually had what I would term a complete self-realization. And that's like way too big to talk about today, but
Yeah.
where I literally realized why I needed to lose all meaning and purpose because there is none.
Oh,
We
that,
are
that,
already
that
the light that we're searching for. We are already.
really, really beautiful. Thank you for clarifying the ABCs and for sharing all that. And it's so great. And I really encourage you or anybody out there, like again, follow up with Suraj, but also, I wrote this book because I've had so many similar, like, I totally believe in thereafter. My mom died when I was 26, and I was with her when she passed away, and I had the privilege to see her aura go. And while I was lying in bed with her in a sterile hospital room and holding her as she took her last breath, and she had just turned 50. And ever since then, I mean, her spirit and mine, like, talk about the umbilical cord, right? That experience of just holding the mother like the child, right? And whispering and talking her through that process. It was the greatest honor to this day of my life. It's an honor. And
Yes.
so, like, to me, death and love and light, it's all part of, you said it earlier, it's just part of the human experience. And being able to talk about it, like, and doing what you're doing, the service you're providing, giving people a platform to talk about it and help them assimilate and find their own belief system around it, because we can only share our experiences until we actually go through that experience, right? So I just honor you so much for the work that you're doing, and I don't want to say, whoa, we're running out of time, but we like to keep the show. We have 4 minutes, really, to the closing, and then the replay will be. We'll have to have you back on to talk about that. It's exciting. You're doing a course, you said, in the fall. I think some of our listeners would really like to hear about that and know more about what that's about. And again, just reciting those ABCs just in succinct, just give us a succinct, because that's something I feel so really tangible and very positive and very powerful, those ABCs for all of us to keep in mind. So, yeah, tell us
So
a little
we
bit.
said automatic writing, yeah. We said
Mhm.
angel, ancestor. Those are just 3. We'll leave
Yeah.
with that. The B is different forms of breath work that, we teach and we empower you with to help with all of that. And body wisdom. A woman said, what was her quote? It was such a beautiful quote. My body has incredible wisdom. I knew that from giving birth, but similar to birth, there seems to be a technology in the way my body is relating to my child's death. Isn't that powerful? It
Yeah.
means that my body knows what to do. And that's how I had to go through this. My body had to be the one to tell me how to get through this. And, when we've had our first contractions giving birth, we had no idea what we were going through. Like, we didn't know. Yeah, we might have taken a class, but we had no idea the childbirth process. And we had to get into the raw womanhood. And
Mhm.
this is also the raw womanhood and
Mhm.
fatherhood and motherhood of this. So I'd say, following the body's wisdom. And we have a lot of techniques for doing that. And my C, of course, is consciousness never dies. Communication is key.
Mhm.
Okay. And I leave you with a beautiful poem that I think depicts the spiritual process of of our journey as humans to the awakening of our godhood and the divine. And it's written by a woman. It's called The Invitation. Somebody passed it to me, another bereaved parent, and somebody I admire. When God comes in your house, it is only by your invitation. But even your invitation is God's. For she has always been landlady and tenant, windows and walls, the fire in your hearth, and the cold wind blowing at your door. At first, her visits seem welcome. She brings tea and cookies and loves you so sweetly inside your own heart. You keep inviting her back by your prayers and your meditation, imagining you found the one you've always wanted, who will hold you on her endless lap and take away your pain forever. But pretty soon, she starts arriving unexpectedly at odd hours of the day and night. And every time she comes to take something away. A pretty picture, a bookcase. There may be even some trash you are happy to be rid of in your basement. But at some point it occurs to you she intends to move in completely. And now the mind starts backing up. Perhaps you can come back another day. And after I've worked on my house, and I've bought nicer furniture, and I've finished my fight with evil, and I've planted a peace garden. But you must know that if you invite God in, sooner or later she'll set up house. And when she does, beware, for she tosses out every single thing she does not need, which in the case of the personality is everything you thought you were. Every thought, every cherished belief, she just throws out with the garbage heap. And that might be fine if she replaced them, but she never replaces those sacred thoughts. She utterly destroys them. She strips the coverings off the walls and peels the paper from the window glass, opens the door to invite in the wind and every creature you wanted to keep out. Sometimes she cleans your house gently, dismantling it room by room, but often she comes in with a torch, and you feel in your gut the fire burn in the center of your separate comfort, and you watch the contents of your house melt and turn to ash, and the roof blow off. And just when you think there's nothing more she can take, she opens the ground beneath, the barely intact shell of your house, and all the levels of your being fall into the space that has no name. And you are left alone in the world, without a map, without a path, without a point of view. And you know you're the creator of your dreams of mountains and rivers and calm seas and storm clouds, crashes of lightning and spacecraft, beautiful babies asleep at the breast, joyful dancing and puppies at play, spring's new blossoms and the threat of winter's war. And at this point, what you are inside your house is simply what is looking out. Nothing is there but what is looking. Yet everything you see is you. Now your life turns inside out. Your body is the world of being, looking out of just what is. And strange as it seems to the mind of your memory, you enjoy each dance of yourself. Even the pains you hope to be rid of, you experience fully without regret. For everything your eye may look, all is seen, is infinite love displaying itself in creation. And just to be completely honest, there are times you might be tempted to rebuild your house of concepts, for the mind just loves to think, but the fire of truth resides within you, where it always lived before you knew. And it keeps revealing moment to moment what is false and what is true. So what can be said about what happens when God takes over her house? She laughs and simply sips her tea, washes her dishes and sleeps when it's time, then goes to find another house where there's been an invitation to come from the deep, deep love of herself.
Absolutely beautiful. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And I have to share, just a couple of our listeners wrote really incredible things, and it sums up kind of what you just wrote. And this is from Alan Shody. He says, like with many, many things, We are educated and trained to use the term death instead of transition to a different frequency realm or such. Thank you, Alan. That's beautiful. And
Yes.
then Christine Whitehawk, who you will love to meet, she writes, death changes everything. So does birth. It's all a cycle. There's gain to be had from grief. In order to experience it, I must align with it. Ah, beautiful. Thank you, both of you, for.
Mhm. Excellent,
And,
excellent.
and so I
Um,
can't. I really do. You could. I'm happy for us to go on over for a few minutes if everybody's cool with that. Um, I just want to, just thank everybody who lack of time. Thank you so much for coming to another dose of positivity, and those of you who are listening to the replay, thanks for subscribing, liking, and sharing this really, really important information that could literally save someone's life. Because like White Eagle, the medicine woman who here gracing with us with her presence today, said a lot of bereaved parents don't make it past 2 to 2.5 years. Or they either die completely emotionally, they check out, or they take their lives. So you could, just by sharing this beautiful woman's information, really literally save somebody's life. So I just want to thank everybody who's here, everybody who's listening on the live channels, for being here for another dose of positivity. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week with Ivy Ray to continue some more positive vibration, sending out into the world. So much big, big love to all of you. And everybody who wants to stay on right now and ask some questions and meet White Eagle directly, Suraj, I just want to say aloha and big, big love to everybody. We're going to go off the live. And Suraj, we are all still in the house here for you with you right now. So
mhm.
please, anybody who wants to, you guys just blew my mind with what you just wrote there. And I'm so glad you're all thoughtful and thinking about what this powerful word death means and how we can transform that and learn so much from someone like you. You really shined here with your wisdom, honey. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And so sorry for your loss.